welcome to your 20-minute rebuild class. Today we are going to be focusing on our back and our arms a little bit more. So we'll be spending most of our time down on the mat, but we're going to start standing to just loosen everything up. I've got Hannah with me here. We're going to get straight into it. So starting with those feet just under those hips, if that's comfortable, you can bring them closer together. Might make a little bit more challenging with that balance, but that's always a good thing. We're just going to start by drawing some nice big circles here, taking those fingers up to the sky, then bringing them back. So just checking in with how this feels. They may feel a little bit tight from carrying bubs around. We're just going to loosen them up today before getting into some strengthening. All right, one more this way, and then coming back the other way. So bringing them forward, then opening them up. Just taking notice, maybe one arm feels a little bit more mobile than the other one, which is always expected and is absolutely normal. Generally, one side moves a little bit better than the next. All right, one more here. Bringing those hands down here. We're just going to move through a little bit more mobility. So we're going to reach our fingers towards the front here. We're going to open those hands nice and wide, squeezing those shoulder blades behind us and then pressing back to the middle. Just going to move through this a few more times. So I want you to draw that focus to that pelvis position. We want to try and be nice and central, stacked on top of each other. So that may mean a slight tuck of that tailbone here. We don't want to be sticking our pelvis out behind us too much, so just maybe a little tuck, just so that we're nice and comfortable while standing and loading up those legs. Bringing that focus back to the arms now, back to the back. Thinking of an orange or a lemon, placing between those shoulder blades. Every time we open up those arms, we are squeezing that lemon and then releasing as we bring those arms forward. Really reaching those fingers nice and long. Each time we open up wide, seeing if we can squeeze those shoulders a little bit more and reach. You may even want to add on some roundness in that back. So every time we reach forward, maybe we draw those arms a little bit more, roll those shoulders forward, round that back, and then opening it up, standing tall as we squeeze that lemon. Reaching forward, maybe our eyesight drops towards the top of our mat, towards that ground, and then maybe it opens up, lifting up towards the ceiling as we squeeze our shoulder blades. One more here, really reaching those arms nice and long. Opening up, enjoying this big extension here. Bringing those hands forward and then dropping those hands to our side. All right, hopefully those shoulders are feeling a little bit looser. We're going to come down to the mat. So just make your way down here to 4-point kneeling. Keeping in mind what we've just done with that extension through our shoulders. This time we're going to move through one arm at a time. So finding that 4-point kneeling, our hips are over top of those knees, our shoulders over top of those wrists. We're going to shift our weight into that left palm, but keeping those hips nice and central here, that belly button drawn in towards that spine. We want to keep that core working and engaged while we move through this. Releasing our left fingertips, we're going to slide them towards the front of our mat, start to lift them up, reach those fingers long. Place them back down, slide them back, coming into the other side. Left fingertips long, lift, drop, and return. Go back with the right, we reach. Lift, drop, and return. That's it, slide along. Reach those fingers as we lift. Drop them down and return. Every time we're reaching, lifting one hand up, I want you to think about really pressing down through that palm of the hand that's on that mat to lift up through that shoulder socket. So from the front, we don't want it to look like we're collapsing down as we're reaching. I want you to lift that chest up away from that mat, lift up out of that shoulder socket so that our shoulders are nice and level. And we're really allowing that space to open up to create more movement as we reach here. We're going to go for one more on each side, maybe lifting a little bit higher this time, dropping it down, reaching long, and drop down. We're going to sit back into those heels here. Just give those wrists a little bit of a break. We're going to come into the arms a little bit more now, starting to work on that strength, rebuild that strength. So when you're ready, finding that 4-point kneeling again. This is our first option. We're going to start here and then we will add on layers. So we're just going to start to bend at the elbows, lower our chest down towards the ground, and then press up. So just lower down as far as possible, keeping those elbows pointing back towards the back of the mat. Our neck stays nice and long as we lower down here. So rather than just lowering that chest and pressing those hips back, I want you to think about lowering the nose down towards the ground. So our hips are staying stacked on our knees. That work is coming through the arms. You're welcome to stay here, or if you want a little bit more challenge, we're going to step our hands out further, so maybe a hand distance further. Shift that weight forward, so we come into almost a half plank here. Again, same movement. We lower ourselves down towards that ground, focusing on that nose lowering rather than that chest. But when I say that your neck is still nice and long, we don't want you to drop that head down. If this is a little bit challenging, keeping those elbows pointing back, you can step your hands out as wide as your mat, or even a little bit wider here, which may allow you to create a little bit more space as you drop and press. Those elbows will go out a little bit wider. So still targeting those arm muscles and upper back muscles, just slightly different to when our elbows are tucked. When they're tucked, it's coming more into those triceps. When they're out wide, we're focusing a little bit more on that chest and that back. Right, we're going to go for 3 more. Seeing if we can press a little bit lower. That's it, last one. And then pressing those hips back, sitting into that kneeling. We're just going to give those shoulders a little roll back before we come into those press-ups again. So you've got your first 2 options. You can stay here for these, otherwise we're going to continue to add on here. So just work with what's feeling right. Maybe you want to give the harder option a go, and then you can always come back to these first options as well. Either way, your arms and those backs are going to get a nice workout. All right, so when you're ready, either sitting up in that 4-point kneeling, or maybe we walk those hands out a little bit. This time you may want to walk those hands a little bit further and even come up onto those toes. So just working with what feels right here. We're just going to go for 5 slowly controlled press-ups. So we're going to lower down for a count of 3, 2, 1. Press up for 3, 2, 1. So you'll feel those muscles working a little bit more here as we lower down for 3, 2, 1, and press. 3, 2, 1. Continue moving at this pace for 3, 2, 1, and lift. 3, 2, 1. Keep it going. I want you to think about really drawing that belly button in towards that spine. So whether you're on your knees or up on those toes, we're really using those glutes, using that core to set ourselves up to focus on lowering for depth and pressing up. It's all about finding that control. Remember, you can come back to those first options if you like. We're going to go for 1 more here. I said 5. We've probably done more than that, but that's all right. Last one for 3, 2, 1, and press. 3, 2, 1. Drop those knees. Take those hips back. Find that child's pose here. Just taking a nice big breath. And then we're going to bring ourselves all the way down, lying on our stomachs. So just lower yourselves down, taking that time to settle in. And we're going to stack one hand on top of each other here. So you can either place that forehead down onto your hands here, or you can start with it lifted, strengthening from the get-go. We're going to be working through the back a little bit more here. So the aim is to keep our glutes as relaxed as possible. If you ever feel yourself squeezing those glutes, remember to relax to keep them loose. We want to focus on contracting those back muscles. From here, we are just going to start by floating those hands up off the mat and place them down. So whether your head is down on those hands or it's already up, we're just floating them up an inch and dropping them down, starting to come into that extension through that back. Making sure those glutes are relaxed. All right, you can stay here, otherwise we are going to add on. When you float those hands up, we're going to hold. We're going to open those hands out to a T, bring them back, drop them down. Go again, we lift, open, close, and drop. This time as we lift, can we lift a little bit higher away from that mat? Opening up, closing, and dropping. Feel that back contracting as we lift a little bit higher, lifting that chest up away from that mat a little bit more. Remembering as we lift, we want to make sure those glutes are staying nice and relaxed. So even take a moment to pause in that lift. Contract those glutes to feel them and then let them relax down while staying lifted. Finding that control just like that warm-up through those arms. Really lengthening out through those fingers. Maybe you start to take those fingertips back towards your toes. Bringing them back. Place it down, lifting a little bit higher. The next time you lift, you're going to pause there. Your fingertips are going to reach out in front of you. We're going to open our left fingertips out to the side. Follow with your gaze. Reach them behind. Bring them back. Eyesight to the mat. Bring everything back down. All right, lift again. Reach those fingertips long. Take those right fingertips back. Those eyes follow. And come back. Place everything down. One more time on each side here. We lift. Relax those glutes. Reach long. Open to the side. Coming back. We drop. One more here. Lift. And reach. Open. And back. Replace. We're going to come into a final lift. Reach those fingertips nice and long. We are just holding here. You can bring those hands back underneath if you need. Maybe place them down. Otherwise, we're reaching those fingertips long, lifting a little bit higher. Eyes stay down for 3, 2, 1, and drop. You can rest that forehead down onto those fingers. Maybe it's more comfortable to drop down onto one side of your face. And we're just going to take a moment here. Let our muscles relax. Feel that release through our back, through those glutes, through those legs. Just taking a nice big inhale. And exhale. One more here. And release. Placing your hands by your shoulders, underneath your shoulders, we're going to press ourselves up, back into a quick child's pose here. Nice big release of that lower back, of that upper back. Maybe you want to round it a little bit. And then coming up to kneeling. We are going to be rolling over onto our bums. So our feet are going to come nice and long here. We're just going to focus a little bit on core, give those arms a little bit longer rest, and then we'll finish off with a final bit of work through those arms. So keeping those legs nice and long here, really sitting up nice and tall. Our hands are going to start at our sides. You're going to flex your feet so your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. You're going to reach your fingertips all the way up to the ceiling. Bend at the elbows, opening up like cactus arms. Reaching up and down. We're just going to do this 2 more times. So reach those fingertips nice and long. Bend at the elbow. Draw those shoulder blades down your back. Reach to the ceiling and down. Last one here. And bend. Reach. This time pausing with those fingers long out in front of you. This is our start position. I want you to tuck that tailbone, start to roll yourself back just as far as feels comfortable. Take a pause and then come up, stack yourself up, reach those hands long. Reach them forward. We start again. Tuck and curl. Maybe we go a little bit lower. Come up, sit tall, reach those fingers long. We've got 2 more here. We go again. Tuck it under. Roll it back. Keep that control here. You may feel a little bit of shake. Just keep breathing, keep moving. Last one. Seeing if we can go a little bit lower this time. Holding at the bottom, we're going to pulse it out for 5. Lift up an inch and down an inch for 4. Really reach those fingers long. Keep our chin lifted. Last 3, 2, 1. Sit all the way up. Reach those hands overhead and drop them down to our hips. Bending our knees in here. Our feet are going to come to flat on the ground, so our soles are pressed into the ground here. We're going to just walk our hands back slightly. Our fingers are going to be facing our heels. Just want you to roll those shoulders back, open up that chest. From here, you're going to press down into the palms of your hands, press down into the heels of your feet, lift that waistband up towards the ceiling, finding that reverse tabletop here. You can let that head drop back slightly, so we're drawing a nice long line from the crown of our head to those knees. Then we drop our hips down all the way to the ground. Maybe they tap down for extra challenge. They stay lifted. We go again, press our waistband up, opening up, finding that long line, drop it down, hover if we like, otherwise tap it down. We go again, press and drop. You can have a play with speed here, maybe picking it up or keeping that control, remembering to breathe. As we drop, maybe our toes lift up off the ground, allowing us to drop a little bit lower and press. We've got 3, 2, and 1. Press that waistband all the way up and drop all the way down. Give those wrists a quick roll out here. All right, we're going to come into some triceps here. So keeping that same position. This time, our feet are going to stay planted on the ground to begin with. Maybe stepping those hands a little bit further back. Those fingers are still pointing towards our heels. We're just going to start to tuck that tailbone a little bit, just like that core before. Bend at the elbows as low as possible, allowing ourselves to load down. So you'll feel it opening up through that chest. We're going to keep rolling those shoulders forward, tucking that tailbone to allow us to bend into those elbows a little bit more. Press through the palms, opening up, lengthen through that spine. We go again, bend at the elbows, squeeze it back, lower down, and press. You can stay here, otherwise if you want a little bit more challenge through those arms, we're going to press down into the heels of our feet, lift our waistband up, and go from here. Same deal. We lower down, feel that change of weight as we come through those arms more, and lift. We're going to lower down until we feel our hips, feel our bums touch that mat, and press. Really send those elbows back, roll those shoulders forward to create more space, and press. That's it. We've got 3. Feel that control. Press through the palms. Maybe those fingertips float up off that mat too. Last one here. Pressing up. We're going to drop to halfway, finding our pulses to finish us off. Pulse it up and down. That's it. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop all the way down. Press all the way up. Let those hips drop down to the mat, coming into a seated position, whatever feels comfortable, whether that's cross-legged, maybe those legs are out in front or kneeling. We're just going to bring our right arm across in front of us here. Really send those right fingers long. Feel that release come through those shoulders. Nice big open up to the side, coming through that left hand. Reach those left fingertips long. And release up to the side. Interlace those fingers, send our palms up to the sky here. Maybe we open up, take that gaze towards that ceiling. Release as we roll out to the side. And that brings us to the end of our rebuild class here. Thank you for joining Hannah and myself, and we will see you in the next class.